Hello everybody, what's up Facebook, what's up YouTube? It is your boy Reuben here, back again with another Reuben report. And today, you guessed it, we're doing another general maintenance video. Yeah, so from my last video, from my after seeing the results from the 13 tooth front sprocket, MPG performance and highway performance, at the end of that video, check the oil. It's time for another oil change. And so, as usual, every time we do an oil change, I'm gonna be obviously changing the oil, but I'm gonna also be cleaning the chain while I'm at it. So far, my oil changes have been relatively like short-lived in a sense. It's been around 500 miles, so each time I change the oil, I've always been cleaning the chain. But hopefully, after this oil change, which is an important one, I hopefully don't have to change the oil so often, because I'm going to be switching from conventional oil over to synthetic oil. So this is the oil that we're going to be switching to. Okay, Valvoline full synthetic. All right, so no more conventional for this baby. Here on out, we're going to be running full synthetic and hopefully be able to go 2,000 miles maybe without having to need another oil change. All right, so that's one thing that we're going to be doing. But in addition to that oil change, while I was in LA visiting family and friends, and when I visited CSC headquarters, I actually picked up a little surprise for you guys to show you how you can maximize the convenience and the overall efficiency of the RX3. And so we'll see that with the oil change. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and get this chain cleaned up a little bit, and let the spray my chain greaser that I always have. Right, let that set in before I start to do the oil change. All right, so let's go ahead and get to cleaning the chain. All right, so as usual, I take my little brush here and I just go around the chain, maybe use my foot. It's hard while holding the camera, but I use my foot or my hand to spin the back wheel, and I just continue to scrub the chain with I'm using dish soap, so it acts like a degreaser. It's a very cheap degreaser as well, and gets the chain relatively clean. Once I've done that, I also use a paper towel as such. Okay, and then I just wipe off the excess, and as you can see, it starts to come off. So I do that a couple times, and once I'm done and I get a good majority of all this gunk off here, that's when I put on the chain lube. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll let you guys know when I put the grease on. All right guys, so I went ahead and wiped off the chain, cleaned the chain. All right, she is spotless. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put the grease on now, and then we're gonna go ahead and get to the oil change. So I take my grease here, and pretty much just like I was doing with the brush, I'm just go one spot at a time and just kind of spray a little bit, turn the wheel, spray. It's hard to do this while holding the camera, but I would do this quite a bit faster if I wasn't holding the camera, but you get the concept. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue doing this. I'm gonna get it all looped up, and then we'll go ahead and get to the oil change. All right, for reference guys, we are at 1,351 miles, last oil change that we did was at around 958 miles. Okay, and so for the surprise upgrade that I got today, in concerns of maximizing the convenience and the efficiency of the RX3 concerning oil changes, you guys are probably already guessing what it is that I'm going on about with this. But what I picked up in LA while I was out there visiting the CSC headquarters was this. So it's this kit, okay, that allows you to have pretty much like a quick release for your oil drain. And what this plug does is it basically replaces your stock drain plug, and then you unscrew this brass looking cap, and that's when you connect this guy, and the pressure presses up against a little release thingy. So this cylinder in the middle goes up and the oil starts to drain out, and this makes oil changes a little bit faster, a little bit easier. It also allows you to not create such a mess, pretty much. The clear tube that comes with it, it's quite long. So depending on whether or not you have the bike up on an actual motorcycle stand that's raised all the way up in the air, or you just have it on the floor like me, you're able to cut it shorter to fit your needs. And also, if you cut it too short, you can use some duct tape like I've done here, to correct the mistake. But I'm probably gonna take it off. I'm just gonna use it for this demonstration, just to show that it can be done. Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try my best to just swap the drain plug, and then I'll try to use that to actually drain the oil. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of hand jujitsu real quick to not spill too much oil, and then we'll see how this thing works. All right, guys, I got the new plug in there, but my hand judo was quite unsuccessful. Made a bit of a mess, more than anticipated. I have one criticism when it comes to this new plug. So this new plug, in comparison to the old plug, the actual bolt head size is much larger on the new plug, as you can see, like around this area. And I didn't really anticipate that it was going to be a much larger, so I did not have a deep socket big enough to be able to ratchet that down. Also, on the CSC website, it's not listed what the size of the bolt is either, so it's basically just hand tight right now. And I called CSC, and I'm kind of waiting for a response on what the size may be. But aside from all that, just from initial impressions, two reasons why it is that I really wanted to install this in the first place was from my very first oil change video. Let me go ahead and sit back up. Okay. From my very first oil change video that I ever did, one of the things that I was sort of disappointed about was I wasn't able to change the oil while the bike was on the center stand. And while the bike is on the center stand, I mean, I witnessed it firsthand. The oil drains so much easier now, right? With the bike up straight. And that's one thing that I'm looking forward to with putting this new quick release drain on the bike. I'm looking to keep the bike on a center stand and allow oil changes to go a little bit more smoothly, a little bit more quickly. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I mean, obviously being able to also put my oil jug, fit that underneath while the bike is on the center stand as well. You know, it actually fits under there, or would be able to fit under there by just curving the you know, the drain hose to pour into the jug. Okay, for some of you out there, you may think that this upgrade is quite unnecessary. I mean, and I would agree with you. It really just depends on how many miles you put on a bike, especially for how much this upgrade costs. I mean, it's not cheap. You know, getting this quick release drain plug, it's like $65 at CSC. I mean, $65 for a drain plug and some, you know, clear like plastic tubing. It's quite expensive. However, again, it just depends on how many miles you're planning on putting on the bike and how often you are going to be doing oil changes, whether or not it's going to be useful or helpful to you. For me, I plan to put a lot of miles on this bike, and I haven't even started my new job yet. I will be starting it this coming week, and I plan to be, with just commuting to work alone, I plan to be putting around 1,200 miles on the bike a month. But obviously I use my bike for a lot more than just commuting to work. I use it to go to the grocery store. I use it to do everything now. So by the end of the year, I mean, God willing, I'm able to ride it as much as possible almost every day that I want to. I should have well over 15,000 miles on the bike, and depending on how long these oil changes actually last, maybe it lasts 1,500 miles, maybe it lasts 2,000 miles. That's going to be quite a few oil changes in between, and you know, being able to save an extra 5 to 10 minutes, you know, just connecting the quick release and then the drain that way, it just makes things a lot more easier, a lot more consistent. I can just keep the bike on the center stand. I don't have to take it off and tilt the bike one way and tilt the bike another way, and everything would just stay where it is. I do what I usually do, clean the chain, do the oil change. Everything is just seamless, right? If, you know, convenience and efficiency is what this upgrade is aiming for. So if you're someone who only rides your bike, like, I don't know, less than 1,000 miles a year, maybe even less than 500 miles. I know there's, I mean, not to throw any shade, but I know there's folks in the group, you know, who have like 1,000 miles on their bike, and they've had their bike for like, you know, 2 or 3 years, you know. So for someone who has this bike for pretty much for what it's designed for, I mean, it's designed to be an adventure bike. It's designed to be an off-road touring type style bike, and understandably, you know, you guys don't go on an adventure every single weekend, or go on an adventure every single week, that every single day that you go outside and use the bike. So yeah, for folks who don't use the bike very much, don't really you know, go on long trips or plan to be using it like I'm using it, being strictly a commuter, really. That's what this bike is. I don't ever plan going off-road with this thing. I bought this to be pretty much a replacement mode of transportation for my pickup truck, because gas prices are ridiculously high right now, especially here in California. So yeah, so for someone who's not going to be putting a lot of miles on the bike, this upgrade, just forget about it. You're not really going to get your money's worth. It's not going to be useful enough to you. But if you're someone like me who's going to be putting a whole lot of miles on the bike, a little extra convenience could go a long way, especially because you're going to be doing these oil changes and these certain type of maintenances a lot more frequently. Okay. All right, so CSC has gotten back with me. They called me back. The bolt, the size of it is 1 inch. So just so you guys know, if you're going to get this, make sure you have a 1 inch deep socket to be able to secure the new bolt to the engine. And make sure it's like really, really snug too, so that way once you start to hand loosen the little security ring or the little brass cap, it's not going to twist along with the bolt. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run to the store. I'm going to go grab a 1 inch deep socket, and then I'll be back. All right guys, I came back from the store. I got my 1 inch deep socket and I got her all snugged up. Okay, and so pretty much with this cap, it should, from here on out, it really should just be hand tight. Okay, so take this off. All right, just like so. Set that down, and then I'm gonna get the tube and I'm gonna attach it to it, and then we'll see how the oil drains out. So as you guys see with my tube here, you can screw it in there just like that, and I think I cut it to the right length because it needs to be able to bend. But just so you guys have an illustration, I mean, you can use a duct tape if you mess up, but I'm going to take that off. But in here, basically how this works is, as it screws on and pushes up, this middle part pushes up against this little, if I can get under here, okay, pushes up right against there, and that starts to open up the other side of the actual bolt, and oil starts to come out. But I'm gonna go ahead and shorten this up a little bit, and then I'll screw it on there. All right, so I got it on there. It's starting to pour out already, but I haven't pushed it up all the way yet. So the more I push it up, the more it pushes up against that little middle part I was talking about, and then it all just starts to drain as intended. And then once the oil is done draining, it's very simple. You just reverse the process, put the cap back on, and then you're done. So it's a lot easier this way, a lot less mess. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the filters and the screens, and then I'll be right back with you guys. All right, I got everything switched out. There's really nothing to document about the filters or the screens. The break-in period is pretty much over. The oil looked normal, just fine. So there was a little bit of buildup on the old plug, but everything else is pretty much a-okay. So with this, now I'm going to go ahead and put in the new synthetic oil. All right. I think one thing that you could and should do, if you're going to be getting this quick drain plug, once the oil is drained all the way, obviously, still take the plug out to check to see if there's any metallic buildup on the plug itself. It's metallic just like the old plug. So basically what this new system does, it just allows the oil to drain a lot quicker, drain a lot easier, not make as much of a mess. And once the oil has been drained, go ahead and take that plug out and check it for any type of debris that may have built up. Put it back in real quick, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up now with synthetic oil, and yeah. All right, guys, got everything filled up. I think I got the oil level pretty much where I want it to be. One other thing that I thought about, just off the top of my head, was if you're filling up the engine with oil, generally you make sure that once you fill it up to a certain level, you let the engine run, because the oil level is definitely going to drop down. But let's say, for instance, you accidentally overfill it, which is not good, because then it'll start your engine will start overheating eventually. What you can do, especially with this new quick drain plug, it's real simple to drain oil out if you overfilled it. So that's just one other extra perk with having this quick release drain plug. But besides that, we got the oil where we want it to be. We also got the chain clean. All right, got all the excess stuff off, so the bike is ready now for however long this new synthetic oil change is going to last us. And so yeah, until next time, guys, stay safe out there, and let me guys know what you think about the quick drain plug. Is it something for you, or you're not going to ride the bike that much, so you just think it might be a little bit too overkill? All right, anyway, peace out.